Hey high school parents, here's what your students learning about this week at Connect. This week, our high school students will be starting a new series. And this series is quite a bit heavier than our last series, but I think it's going to be really good for our students. It's called Seeking the Unseen. Perhaps some of you have heard of the phrase loneliness epidemic. This is the phrase that psychiatrists are using for what's going on with our teenagers and our young adults right now. Statistics from 2023 show that 75% of our 15 to 25-year-olds report sometimes or often feeling loneliness. These results have only gone up for 2024, sitting at 79%. Now let me point out before we move on that there's a difference between being lonely and being alone. Jesus often wanted to be alone. He went off for times of prayer, times of solitude with the Father. And yet we are not called to be lonely. Loneliness happens whenever our desire for connectedness with others is not being met. And this can happen in a room full of people. You don't have to be physically alone to feel loneliness. Now, there's a lot of things that we could point at as the cause for this loneliness epidemic. The increase of technology, smartphones, social media, COVID-19, but it doesn't really matter what causes it if we're not doing anything about it. Scripture very clearly tells us that it is better to be in a community with one another, to be connected. We were not meant to be lonely. And so as Christ followers, we should want to do something about this. For part of the lesson, our high school students will have the opportunity to take a loneliness quiz. This quiz will just kind of give them a gauge of what type of loneliness or what level of loneliness they are dealing with. For some of those students, they're going to have a very low score, and that's great. But that doesn't mean that this series isn't for them too. As a community of believers, we not only want to feel connected ourselves, but we want everyone else to feel connected too. We want to create a community of belonging, yes, at the church, but at school too. So the hope for this lesson is that it may set the stage and a mindset for our students as we enter into this series, seeking those who feel unseen, both in ourselves, in our church, and in our community. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this video can spark some awesome conversations between you and your student.